back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Cannell. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and all across the 24/7 Sports Facebook network. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, come and join us in the chat. It's your favorite time of the week. It's our favorite time of the week. It is a Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Time for us to unfurl our locks for the week ahead. But we begin with a very brief review of the week that was. Tom Fornelli sprayed the board 6-6 on the week with your 12 picks. The wins were a lock fight win against Danny Cannell with Virginia Tech, NC State. You were on the Hokies. A lock fight win on Illinois, Nebraska. You were on the Fighting Illini. A lot of pain, a lot of sadness as Sam Hartman hits a 404 system error and everything goes glitchy and you have 8 turnovers in a single quarter. Lock Unity takes an L, as that is Wake Forest as a loss. The other wins for Tom Fornelli were the over 68.5 in TCU, West Virginia. Never a doubt. Throw a touchdown on 4th down right at the very end. Oh, my goodness. Notre Dame plus 2.5 against Syracuse. Notre Dame ran right over them. Squeezed the orange. Michigan State team total under 16. Wait, was that Mississippi State?
Michigan State.
Michigan State team total under 16.5. That's a win. Tennessee minus 12 against Kentucky. That's a win. The losses were the under in the cocktail party, the under in Penn State, Ohio State, the Iowa Northwestern under an offensive explosion from the Hawkeyes. Extend Brian Ferentz. Cal plus 17.5 against Oregon. A little bit of heartbreak there. And USC Arizona under 76.5. 6-6 on the week has you at 42-47 on the season, minus 9.7 units. Thoughts, notes, takeaways from the week that was.
It was a 6-6 week, but I actually felt great about it because the under in Florida-Georgia hits if Georgia doesn't go to sleep there in the third quarter. Penn State, Ohio State scored 30 points in the first 3 quarters and then scored 45 points in the fourth quarter. So that was just, that the thing just got out of crazy. There was 3 touchdowns in the final 3 minutes of that game. So that was just bad luck, in my opinion. Losing, anytime you lose anytime you lose a lock unity, I feel like you were on the right side. It just didn't go your way because I don't think 3 of us are all going to agree on a play if it's not the right side to be on. And again, 8 turnovers in the second half kind of threw that out of whack. And then with Cal, I'm a missed field goal away from a cover. They lost by 18 and they missed a field goal. So I was 6-6, but I feel like I was very close to being 10-2.
I love that optimism. Dialed in, seeing the board. Tom takes a clear mind heading into week 10. I was 4-3. The wins were the Pitt, North Carolina over 64.5. I was also on TCU, West Virginia over 68.5. The Minnesota Rutgers under 41. Never a doubt. UConn didn't even need the 8. You do not walk into the rent without paying. Learn your lesson, Jeff Hafley. UConn plus 8 is a win. The other losses, Utah-Washington State over 55.5. Thank you, Kyle Whittingham. You are firmly on the do not bet list for the rest of the season because of those Cam Rising shenanigans. I was also on the cocktail party under. That was a loss. Wake minus 3.5. So 4-3 moves me to 42-32 on the season, up 6.8 units, second place on the board. Now, Danny Cannell, the chat has already suggested that you might be fading your locks in real life because you still have renovation money. The kitchen is actually getting done, so there's clearly some hedging that's being done somewhere. A 2-6 week for you. We mentioned the 2 lock fight losses to Tom Fornelli. You did cash on that Penn State plus 15.5 as it was a backdoor, not a backdoor, now a backdoor again. Nittany Lions offensive explosion gets you that win. Notre Dame plus 2.5. You were in agreement with Tom on that one. The losses were the under 62 in Penn State, Ohio State, Georgia minus 22.5, Texas A&M plus 2, which I would say is not horrible. That was a really competitive game, at least till the end. Then Michigan minus 22.5, also a loss. The 2-6 showing has you at 34-47 on the season, down 17.5 units.
It's embarrassing. Don't know how to approach it. I had some psychotherapy that I'll refer to as the Cover 3 Locks text thread where I asked for advice. Maybe some people are in a similar situation. Here's the advice I got. The question was, what's the best way for me to address this debacle known as my locks? Keep it tight and selective or spray the board. Jordan, our producer, said take the Vols. Obviously, a little Tennessee love coming from him. Tom said can't get out of the hole, betting 3 games a week. And our guy, Bud, says fire. So I'm firing away this week. We're going to have a big bounce back. It's coming back. It's got to. It cannot get much worse. Or else, I might not be able to keep the house after the renovations at this rate, the way things are going. And like opposite of Tom, who's like, I almost was 10-2. I was almost 1-7.
Well, because the Penn State being one of your wins. Yeah.
I think I texted you guys and I turned the game away because I was like so pissed. I'm like, there goes both of them. Because that was the one bet I felt really good about. Was in the driver's seat. And then all of a sudden it completely flips. That's actually, so quick story. I know we got to get it. So my dad is starting to pay attention to my picks. He's like, are you okay? You're going to get fired. Like, how's your job security going? So he doesn't really gamble. He never has, but he was locked into the Penn State-Ohio State game. And he calls me. He's like, I thought you had winners. It's like, I thought you were done. I'm like, nope. Welcome to the world of sports gambling, Dad.
Shout out to the public safety tournament here in Florida. Retired public safety folks like fire and police. My dad was playing in last week, and I was throwing him some winners. So they were all like, what does Bud have on this game? He's like, he doesn't really bet the NFL. He doesn't have, like, what do you mean he doesn't have a pick on this game? So yeah, the shout out to the dads watching. Also shout out to my son who's homesick from school today, maybe watching downstairs. See you soon, buddy.
All right.
Sorry. Also, hey guys, can we get the likes up on this video? Like, I mean, we can lament that we've had some losing weeks, and we are still a profitable podcast for like literally we're up units all combined on the year, dropping all of our picks at one time on a Thursday, like not getting the best of the number on a Monday and then waiting for something to move on a Saturday. I don't think y'all realize how hard that is, right? To actually be a profitable show, not necessarily killing it all combined, but we're still making money. And that's just kind of ridiculous that we only have 70 something likes on this video. Let's get this thing up. Come on.
And with me having the worst season I've had in 5 years tracking picks and just dragging this thing down like an anchor. Still,
at least you track them. Like a lot of shows just throw stuff out there and then don't even bother to follow up with the fact that their record's terrible.
Plus, you are up over 11 units on sprinkles, and no matter what Chip says, they all count. Chip doesn't want them to count. Chip thinks that they're separate competitions, which is really funny because he's up 6.8 units in the locks, but he's down 4.38 units in the sprinkles. And I can't figure out why he thinks that they're separate competitions.
Yeah, this sprinkles are side games. They're called sprinkles. All right, they're not called stakes. My locks are stakes, and sprinkles are not stakes. Anyway, the aforementioned Bud Elliott is absolutely on a heater right now. 6-3 this week after going 8-3 last week. The wins were Kansas State, Kansas State. Woo, no sweat there. Against Oklahoma State. Pitt, North Carolina over 64.5. The Minnesota Rutgers under 41. The Iowa -11. The Stanford team total under 24.5. South Al -9.5. You pushed Miami -2. What a glorious push. Couldn't win it once. New overtime rules. Once you get to 3 overtimes, like this is
Chip, actually, I had a couple guys who bet for a living DM me about this, and they said that's actually not true because you've had an overtime game finish with somebody winning by 13 this year. The 2-point conversion is live to take back if it was a pick six, or like in a pick six situation. So I do want to clarify. I was wrong about that. Apparently, it's not dead. It's just very much life support if you're laying anything in the 2.5, 3 range.
So if you're doing 2.5 or 3 and you've gotten into third overtime or beyond, your only path to glory is a pick six on a single 2-point conversion play. All right, good to know moving forward. That one was a push. The only losses on the board: Louisiana -1, Ole Miss, Texas A&M under 55.5, and you were right there with us fighting the good fight. Wake -3.5. 6-3 on the week. Improves you to 62-44 on the season, up 13.6 units. Notes, thoughts, takeaways.
I mean, Wake is the one that stings the most, right? But they had a 65% passing success rate on dropbacks. They just happened, like when they went bad, they just went unbelievably bad. And sequencing wise, 6 turnover drives in a row, I think was it? And every drive in the third quarter ended in a turnover. I don't know. I need to update my model to figure out when Hartman's going to explode, because I think like half of his career turnovers have happened in 3 games. So, that was unfortunate, but A&M, I probably have just not. I don't think I've adjusted to how bad Ole Miss's defense actually is.
Well, you don't have to worry about that this week. The 8-1 Rebels are at home as they prepare to welcome Alabama on November 12th. All right. Week 9 behind us. Week 10 on deck. Gentlemen, y'all ready to lock it up?
Born ready.
Since 2005, the under in games between service academies is 40-9-1.
Give me an over in this one as well. A little 2-for-1 special.
I was sick of last week. Y'all were watching videos. I was live betting the hell out of ULN Kentucky.
My blue plate special 5-star locks are coming.
5-star master lock. Lock it up. These locks.
I'm living and dying every point, every cover.
If you followed Tom's Twitter tip of the day, Central Michigan, ching, fire up chips. Thursday night action. UTEP and Rice on the mothership CBS Sports Network. App State and Coastal Carolina, a game we discussed during Wednesday's show. Anyone got a lock for Thursday night action?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to go ahead and lay it with App. I'll lay the 3 points. So Coastal beat Marshall last week, right? And Marshall's offense is pretty bad. App to me has the best offensive line in the Sun Belt, and it might not be close. So far this year, Coastal has been pushed around a pretty good bit. And I just think that App can go in there. And I don't love App's secondary, and I think there's a coaching quarterback advantage. But I will lay the 3 points here with App, because I just think they can push Coastal around physicality wise.
Going to be an awesome game. I think I'm more dialed into it. Don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. Excited to see what is in the future for the Sun Belt. Friday night action. Jim Mora, the Cover 3 podcast coach of the month for the month of October, hosts UMass.
Oh, what a game.
UConn favored by 15 and a hook. That's on CBS Sports Network. Also on Friday night, Duke and Boston College. I'm seeing Duke minus 9.5. If Duke gets out to 10 that at kickoff, that is the first time Duke has been favored by double digits in an ACC game since 1994, which might be why it's clicked down to Boston College 9.5. And then also Oregon State and Washington. Washington currently favored by 4.5. Anyone got Friday night action?
I do.
River in the sky.
Atmospheric river. It's a river in the sky.
The river in the sky keeps on dumping, and the unders keep on cashing.
Yeah, seriously, it is going to be pouring in Seattle for Oregon State, Washington. Winds of up to 40 miles per hour. I mean, this is a pretty obvious play to be under 54.5. Washington is a team that throws the ball a lot. It's going to be hard to do that in high winds and rain. Oregon State's offense, I don't think, is all that great to begin with. So under 54.5.
I mean, if that wasn't obvious by, the river in the sky bit, I'm 100% locking that up too. We don't spend all daggum season tracking weather reports to not jump in on an under when we have a river in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
It's a river in the sky.
Sheets of rain pouring down. How's Michael Penix going to be able to hold on to that ball when you got a river in the sky?
He's going to need to be Michael Rain-X.
Boom.
Oh my!
I like how much thought you guys put into that.
That was great. I can't do it. At open, yeah, at like 58, 57, 54 is a tough number for me to bet under on.
It's going to be a 10-7 game.
Yeah, it really could. I don't know. I may put a little alt under on this just on the off chance if the atmospheric river hits literally during the game and we have 40-mile-an-hour gusts and like a foot of rain come through in about a 5-hour period, that really could be a really difficult situation to play some offense in. Yeah, I'm going to pass, but I definitely don't want the over.
No.
I did make a short about it, but yes, chat is talking about how we made a YouTube short about it. Yes, I did. The line's also moved more than a touchdown since the open.
Anything else from Friday night?
Is Duke Friday night?
Yes.
Yeah, give me Duke 9.5.
Let's go. Big Elko season.
Wait, do we know if Jurkovic's playing? He took a pretty nice neck looking shot against UConn. The backup was completely ineffective. And UConn, I really don't think their offense is any good. Basically, all of their skill position players are out for the year. And they were still able to move the ball somewhat. Boston College lost another offensive lineman. I just think they're out of players. I think, and at some point you're just kind of done, right? They're was last week they're officially done from bowl eligibility?
They are 2-6 right now. They would need to run the table.
Yeah.
So realistically, that was their losing that game means they won't go bowling.
Correct.
So I think there's some potential emotional letdown off that, and I just think Duke is a good bit better. Also, this is not a red bandana game, no weird type stuff. It's a short week for Duke or for Boston College. Duke had the bye week. I'm going to lay it.
Just for the sake of lulz, let's imagine Matt Ryan playing behind the Boston College offensive line right now.
Current Matt Ryan or
it
college?
probably looked like the same way it did when he was with the Colts offensive line. Probably very similar.
I have the Pittman guy in fantasy and for my one fantasy team, and I hate Indianapolis quarterback situation.
Yeah, Lynn took Jonathan Taylor with the first pick in her draft, and she's in 2-6 right now. So that's how that's going.
Duke winning this game, by the way, would improve the Blue Devils to 6-3. Mike Elko, year one. Impressive stuff going on there in Durham. Okay, Friday
Dogs and all the other games, Chip, you think?
Let's see.
No, hosting Vatek, they'll be a slight favorite.
Yeah, Duke is so the combination of scenarios for North Carolina to clinch the Coastal this weekend would involve a Duke loss, which ain't going to happen, which means that Duke, which is currently tied for second place in the ACC Coastal Division, remains still alive for the division title. And Carolina still has NC State and Wake left on the schedule. So Blue Devils in Charlotte, still not totally out of the realm of possibilities. But first, let's tackle bowl eligibility. All right, now turning the page to Saturday action. Let's just go ahead and get there. Right? I mean, we can't waste any more time. We go between the hedges. Sanford Stadium, Athens, Georgia. Number 1 versus number 1. Number 1 in the AP poll, the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 1 in the college football playoff rankings, the Tennessee Volunteers. It is the first meeting of the top 2 teams in the AP top 25 poll since 2019, when it was LSU and Alabama, which was the first regular season meeting of 1 versus 2 since 2011, which was LSU and Alabama. Tennessee and Georgia, maybe a little bit of a budding rivalry here as they enter college football lore. The Georgia Bulldogs are favored by 8, over under of 66. Who's got a lock on the biggest game of the season?
Am I the only one?
Oh, no, I'm in.
All right, cool. I'm taking Tennessee +8. As I break this one down, first of all, the more I've thought about it, the more I've looked at it, the one thing that keeps hitting me upside the back of the head is that great offenses beat great defenses. And that's just the way it's working in the sport these days. And Tennessee has the better offense, and defense is more of a separator for winning a national title. It's better to have a great defense and a good offense than a great defense and a terrible or great offense and a terrible defense. Anyways, I'm getting way in the weeds here. My only point is that the way I break this game down, if Georgia wins, its path to doing it will be to control the ball with its run game, limit what Tennessee does in the run game, and just try to keep that offense off the field as much as possible, which is typically going to lead to, closer wins. If Tennessee wins this game, I feel like they will blow Georgia out in the process of doing it. So I just think that the more likely scenario is no matter who wins, I think Tennessee's covering more often than not. So I'm taking the Vols +8.
I have been slanderous of the Georgia Bulldogs in recent weeks. I've called them dress code. Simply suggesting that they're doing what they need to do to look the part, appropriate for being one of the top teams in the entire country, but not stunning. Not, hey, let me get a flick. Not something that I want to, get a picture and show to people later. They lead the nation in rushing touchdowns, and yet my slanderous tale is on here talking about how the rushing game's kind of, their passing game has some of the best tight ends in the entire country. And yet I'm like, I don't know. It's not doing it for me. But like you, Tom, as I break this game down, I do not see a Tennessee is entirely locked up, stuffed into a locker, and unable to score. I think that Tennessee will never go away. And even if Georgia creates a deficit, I think that Tennessee will always have the ability to storm back. The back door will never, ever, ever be fully locked. And so those Georgia fans, hello. Hey, dogs. I'm sorry. That mean old train coming down the track, red and black, I don't see it. Give me the Vols plus all the points.
I so agree with what you guys say about great offenses beating defenses, good defenses. What do you do when you have great offense versus a bad defense? I'm fighting you guys.
Ooh.
Fight.
So we've seen Georgia go against a great offense that's known as the Oregon Ducks, top 10 team right now in the country, whose offense is all of a sudden taken off. I think playing at home is a massive advantage in this one. I think it throws off a lot of communication that you've got going on at the line of scrimmage. Some of the things we talked about on Wednesday's pod. I think it's one where Georgia kind of reminds people, hey, we're the defending champ. We're the kings of the block. We've got a defense, even without Nolan Smith, that is capable of getting after you. This will be the best defense that Tennessee has faced by far. I think it might be one of the better offenses they've faced by far as well. It's going to be too much firepower for me. And I also, so if I think if Georgia wins, I do think they'll be able to keep them in check. And even though their offense is prolific, I don't think they're going to be just running up and down the field, throwing those big plays. I think they want long, sustained drives. Give me the under as well.
2-for-1 special from Danny Cannell. We got a lock fight. We got an under in a Tennessee game. This is how does Danny respond? By being bold. But no locks
Jordan
in the game.
Is so mad.
I think I don't know, man. He might actually be happy about that.
Yeah. Jordan said earlier this week he kind of wants Tennessee to lose.
Yeah. But no lock in the game. But do you have how do you handicap in this one? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think that Georgia will try to play slow on offense and will probably try to make Tennessee win in the red zone. I've thought of, like, I don't really trust Tennessee's defense, but I do think Tennessee's offense is pretty legit. They're 100% touchdowns in goal-to-go situations so far, right? Like, if you're Georgia, you're like, okay, which of this is sustainable? Which of this is unsustainable? I don't think Georgia has much of a shot of stopping Tennessee in the open field. I think Georgia has some shot of forcing Tennessee into stops or field goals in the low red area, just because there's less space to play with. I'm probably going to wait as long as I possibly can and take some Georgia, right? Like maybe other folks jump on this Tennessee number and I can get Georgia at 7.5. That if I can cheaply get it to 7, or maybe I'll just lay maybe 7.5 plus 100 or something like that. But I'm just going to wait on this.
Okay, here we go. It all goes down 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it on CBS. You can stream it on Paramount Plus. It's the biggest game of the year. Fired up. Glad we got some action for it on the board. 7 p.m. Eastern time. It is Alabama and LSU. It is a top 10 matchup.
Straight it is.
Alabama currently favored by about 13.5. Over under of 56.5. Anybody got a lock for the Crimson Tide and the Tigers in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, I do.
Let's go.
I'm going to go. Are there any 30s out there for the first half? I guess not. Give me under 29. And I don't want to take a bad number here. Give me under 28.5 first half in this one.
These games, Alabama's defense, when the game is at LSU, has done well.
If you look at the teams that LSU has really put a lot of points on recently, I'm not sure how to award credit for this. It could be that LSU's offense is improving that much. It could be that these teams are somewhat cratering. Florida's defense looks really poor. Ole Miss's defense looks kind of worse every single week, right? And I go back, it wasn't that long ago. Oh, there's 29s out there. Fine, 29 for me. That's kind of a marginal difference there. It wasn't that long ago that LSU was putting up less than 4.5 yards of play at Auburn, right? And I do think that the pass rushers for Alabama will have success in this ballgame.
Anybody else got to play?
I don't have a lock. I included it in the 6-pack because I had to, but I've got the over in the 6-pack.
Like full game over?
Mm-hmm.
I'm torn on this game.
I would say the thing that I'm watching is just this Alabama team in a true road environment.
Where they've struggled.
Yeah, performance has been not up to par. That's just sort of the home road splits all the way since the beginning of last year. We'll see. Don't feel strong enough to lock it up, but LSU plus the points, it'd be fun. All dog Saturday.
That's what I was leaning to, LSU and the points. But that Tennessee game is hard to erase from your memory. I know it was because we talk about Baton Rouge being a tough place to play, and it is different at night. That game was at home too, and they got worked. So I'm going to stay away.
I took some LSU 14 when this opened on Sunday just because I figured the number would not go over 14. But like power rating's fine. I can justify it. Matchup wise, I don't like it.
Also, what would the impact of weather be in this game? I think it's not exactly going to be pleasant on Saturday night.
Bama's a better running team than LSU is. Weather typically, if it's not a bunch of wind, rain actually can. LSU is natural grass, so there's some advantage to the under if there's a lot of rain, whereas like artificial turf, basically none. Probably minimal unless we're expecting a lot of rain, or excuse me, a lot of wind.
Also at 7 p.m. Eastern time, number 24 Texas at number 13 Kansas State. Texas was off last week. Kansas State absolutely worked Oklahoma State. Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. Over under of 54.5. Anybody got a lock?
Over.
Yeah.
Completely in agreement on everything this week. Yeah, I just think the total's too low. Like if it's under 56, I'm all over it. I feel like this is a game that's going to get to the 30s. I think coming off a bye, Texas's offense is going to probably have a pretty strong performance. And I think the Kansas State's offense the last few weeks has been improving. So give me the over.
The fact that Kansas State can move the ball through the air has been quite a change to our expectations of what we do with Kansas State, especially from the wagering perspective. And I think that, as we suggested on Wednesday's show, I think that coming out the gate, Sark's going to have a pretty good sort of opening for Quinn Ewers, that Texas is able to get us some points early. The challenge for winning this game for Texas, in my eyes, is going to be avoiding another second half letdown, especially in a road environment. But as long as Texas can get us those points early, I think that we should have no problem getting this thing maybe even to the low 60s. So I think there's a lot of value here on over 54.5.
I have a play here. I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas State over 26.5 points. I think with the advent of Will Howard playing, and I do think he's a better player than Martinez. I think they will throw the ball down the field better on Texas than you otherwise would expect, and so I think they have a pretty good shot of getting into the 30s.
I have a play as well. I was thinking this is my new strategy because I had this listed as a possibly money line sprinkle play. So as opposed to doing that, just give me Kansas State and the points at home dog. They might have found something that really opens up this offense, and I'm very curious to see
the forward pass.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly. They discovered it. Quinn Ewers responded. His first road game wasn't a huge success. That was not a smashing success. 3 interceptions, struggled somewhat. Bye week to think about it. That's a lot. I think you'll see a healthy dose of Bijan Robinson. I think they will have some success with him. But in a game where he was just loose with the football, and that's a great thing. He's a little bit of a gunslinger, but I think Kansas State can make him pay for it. So I'll go ahead and take the Wildcats playing at home.
two more games in the night, busy night slate for us to react to on Saturday night. We will be planning to go live, normally like around 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. And I don't see anything that should keep us up too much later than that, at least in terms of no 8:00 starts that we would wait on. Clemson and Notre Dame. Number 4, Notre Dame not ranked, but massive significance to the college football playoff. And the picture as it stands, the Tigers are favored by just 3.5, over under a 44. Has anybody got a lock?
I do.
Let's go.
I'm going to lay it with Clemson. I think DJ has been mostly fine this year, to be honest. I think he had one, bad game with some sloppiness. And, Klubnik is not that bad. I think Drew Pine is bad. And I think Notre Dame's offense is just kind of BS. So they ran for 300-something yards, I think, on Syracuse. But we called that on the show. We said, hey, there's some chance that Syracuse's defense has just kind of spit the bit, especially against the run. They will not be able to run the football like that against Clemson. They had only 105 yards passing, I believe, in that game in the Dome. I don't believe that Notre Dame can throw the football enough to keep up with Clemson here. So I think it's kind of a race to 24, and I think Clemson will get there, and Notre Dame will not.
A race to 24. That means, give me the under 100%. We already saw Marcus Freeman when going up against a team that is a top 5 team. We already saw the playbook. He's going to try to do everything he can to let his defense, which is the superior side of the ball for the Fighting Irish, try to win them that game. I think the approach is to try to run the ball as much as possible. And there's no way that we are going to see the interior defense of Brian Brzee, Tyler Davis get pushed around quite like Syracuse did. But this is a ground attack that since the North Carolina game has really found its rhythm. They got a couple good running backs. They can keep the bodies fresh. The offensive line is starting to gel a little bit. And I think that, the confidence and game to game, stacking that up in the rushing attack along an offensive line, that is something that I assign some value to. But especially when you start to get in scoring position, I do not trust Drew Pine to be able to go and get you those touchdowns and red zone opportunities. I also think that Notre Dame's defense is going to have a lot of BT Potter out there just going and kicking those short field goals after Clemson is able to move the ball. So what was it 21-10 in Ohio State Notre Dame?
Mm-hmm.
That was 31. I raced to 24. You might be spot on there. Let's hope it's 24-17, and we're both winners. Give me the under 44.
Lock it up.
Woo!
Don't forget too, DJ coming off his shakiest performance. That's a healthy dose of Will Shipley. It's a healthy dose of him running the football, which I think I hate the way they run their quarterback so much. It's the style of the run game too. It's just very
slow.
Yeah, it's just slow. It doesn't look pretty. It's like this power, quarterback running the football. I think Notre Dame will have some success slowing them down, but I think the thing I think we all agree on is Notre Dame offensively, I don't think is going to have much success versus this defense. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring affair.
One last ranked on ranked before we hit the break and open up the board. Number 21, Wake Forest. Number 22, NC State. Who gets bounced from the college football playoff rankings? Elimination game. Now, this game is in Raleigh, where in this rivalry, you always say you take Wake in Winston-Salem, you take NC State in Raleigh. But the twist here, of course, is do you believe in MJ Morris, the true freshman quarterback who came in against Virginia Tech, had 3 touchdowns, really gave a spark to this offense that wasn't there before. Wake Forest is favored by 4 on the road, over under a 54. Anybody got a lock for the ACC Network primetime game?
Over.
All right, let's go.
I think that, I think Wake's got to have a bounce back performance from last week's game against Louisville. And as Bud was mentioning earlier, the offense, when they weren't getting sacked or turning the ball over, was actually playing pretty well. So I expect them to continue playing well again this week. And I think with MJ Morris, there's always the question of when a guy comes in who wasn't expected to play and succeeds, is it because of them or was it because the other team just had no preparation for him and wasn't really ready to face him? I think that could have been the case last week, but I think with a week going of prepping Morris for the starting job against a Wake defense that really hasn't done a great job stopping anybody, maybe the good play continues. Maybe the Wolfpack can put up some points in this one too. So I think this total is a little too low. So give me Wake, NC State over 54.
It's a great point, too, about MJ Morris sitting on the starting role, sitting on playing time. That's a different dynamic, a little more stressful, time to think about it. Sometimes that naivete is a great thing coming off the bench, slinging that rock.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody else got a play in Wake State? Nope. All right. Coming up on the other side, we open up the board. Every bit of Saturday action is up for grabs with more of our Week 10 locks. Next.
This is Paramount Plus. This is touch-ups, touchdowns, and getting touchy.
Sexy.
This is blue paint, yellow sponges, and red shirts. This is super suits, super sass, and super dumb. They're like really dumb. This is a mountain of entertainment. Paramount Plus. Stream now.
Quick review of what we've got on the board so far. Tom has Friday night, Oregon State-Washington under 54.5, Tennessee +8 on Saturday, Texas-Kansas State over 54.5, and Wake-NC State over 54. I'm also on the River in the Sky, Oregon State-Washington under 54.5, and Tennessee +8, and Texas-Kansas State over 54.5. I also have the under 44.5 in Clemson-Notre Dame. Danny's got the Tennessee, Georgia under 66.5. And we've got a bar fight as he's going to take the Dogs -8. Kansas State +2.5 at home against Texas. Danny also on Clemson, Notre Dame under 44.5. Bud Island over here. App State -3 on Thursday. Duke -9.5 on Friday. The first half under 29 in Bama-LSU. Kansas State team total over 26.5. And Clemson -3.5. Danny, where you want to go?
Let's go to game. I'm actually going to be in attendance for 7:30 ABC prime time. A great storied tradition. Florida State traveling to Miami. Give me the Noles laying 7.5. I think they're the better football team. I think Miami's in a little bit of a crisis mode. Quarterback issues, TVD up in the air. If it's Garcia, he was a lot of Canes fans love what they saw. I think Florida State, the more they're getting healthier, they're getting guys back. I just think they're a better football team right now. And they're doing things that we haven't seen in the last 5 years. And one of them is beat teams they're supposed to. I know it's a rivalry game, but I like them to win this game and win it convincingly. So give me the Noles and lay the points.
What do they call it? Hard Rock Florida State Seminole Stadium or something like that? What's the nickname
exactly.
that you have whenever all the Noles show up to Miami home games?
That's right.
5 neutral sites a year. Look, Cane fans will show up to this one. I mean, like FSU fans will too. It's sold out for.
Yeah, it's a hard ticket to get.
Yeah.
Flex.
Sitting in
Miami
the
seems
box.
to be getting.
Whoa.
Hey.
I thought about playing FSU here. If I was really going to play something, I would probably play Miami team total under. Even though I don't really love FSU's defense that much, they are getting much healthier, and I think that could be a real key. Miami's defensive front still has some real players on it.
So when you go as a Florida State Hall of Famer, you get the full access, right? Like we're going on the field before the game.
I haven't requested the field passes. I'm bringing my 2 daughters, my teenagers. They haven't been to a Florida State-Miami game, like a rivalry game yet. And that's a lot. Like, hey, can I get 3 passes? I don't know. I might say just pregame festivities and see what happens. We'll see.
See if there's one floating around.
Right, exactly. And then you try to maybe sneak in the security guard. Hey, man, they're just me. They're young. Like, just let them in with me. They're with me. See if they go that one. Tallahassee, that might work. Miami, I don't know.
We'll see. Sorry, Tom. Didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say, after what Danny did last week, I'm tempted to take Miami, but I just don't.
That would be cold-blooded if you did.
I don't want to bet Miami in this game. I think FSU has the better QB. So,
do you think this line says Van Dyke plays or Van Dyke does not play?
It's a good question.
I think it says he's not playing.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, I just even then it's maybe a point or two. Like if I knew Van Dyke was playing and it was 7.5, I probably would fight you here. But just no.
Yeah, like if Van Dyke is announced as out, this is not going to go to 10. If Van Dyke is announced as in, it's probably going to close like 6.5 juiced, maybe 6.
Bud, where do you want to go?
All right. I've been hitting this almost every week, guys, and I have another team total for y'all here. I'm going to take Tulsa under 24.5 hosting Tulane. I think Tulsa's offensive line has some problems, and Tulsa has some quarterback injury stuff right now, which I think is problematic. If they play the backup to Bren, which I think they probably will, he has to run a lot more. Tulsa's run defense is poor, and their pass defense is good, and Tulane can run. So I think Tulane will run. I think the clock will run. I like Tulane's defense, and that basically means I don't think Tulsa's going to score a lot here. I think Tulane will possess the football on the road, and this already ran out over a touchdown. It's like 7.5 now. So go and give me another 24.5 on Tulsa team total. I don't see him dropping that.
Tom, you've got an exquisite Tulane hoodie on right now for those watching on YouTube. Are you taking the green wave here?
No, I'm not. I just wear the hoodie because I look beautiful in it.
I can't. I detect no lies. Danny, let's go back to you.
All right. I need a win. I'm going to go to one. I've tried to swing for the fences on this one. And as opposed to doing that with a money line sprinkle, again, some of my philosophy here, let's just take some of those bets and take them with the points. South Carolina traveling to Nashville. They get in the top 25. They lay a complete egg this past weekend against Mizzou. They lose outright. I think they're probably thinking, hey, all we got to do is show up and win this game. This is one of those games I do think for Vanderbilt, they view much like the game against Missouri where they almost won that one. They're thinking, hey, we could possibly win this game. I think they're going to get their best ever. Give me Vandy as a touchdown underdog at home. Let's go.
Let's go, Barton.
Barton, feel my pain. He's got to know my record. I mean, he's got to be like, he's going to come through for me. I know on this one.
So we put in a request after win number 3 to ask what the chances were we could get of a Saturday night arrival. And the response was maybe after the first SEC win.
Let's go.
They got the better quarterback.
Yep.
There's no question about that.
It's going to be Swan, right? He's back.
I'm assuming so.
They've been playing both a lot.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, where do you want to go?
Well, we are now 45 minutes into the show, and I haven't brought it up yet, so I better do it. Yeah. Air Force Army under 40.5. It's a service academy under. Again, 42-9-1 since 2005 when service academies play. I'll go through the whole spiel. 2 option offenses. They run the ball over 80% of the time. They aren't very explosive when they run the ball. They need to put together 10, 11, 12, 13 play drives to score touchdowns. That keeps the clock churning. That limits possessions. That limits the amount of points you could score. They basically need to play perfect games to hit the over. And they usually don't play a perfect game. As I said, 42-9-1 since 2005.
The odds makers keep trying to catch up, and they just can't catch up. This game went to overtime last year, and it was 21-14.
Damn right.
In overtime. Air Force also trying to lock up the Commander-in-Chief's trophy for the first time since 2016. They've got more Commander-in-Chief's trophy wins than anybody else in the series, but this is starting to become a little bit of a drought of sort, and one of the reasons is because they've lost 4 out of the last 5 to Army. Very, very big game. You can watch it on CBS, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. They are playing in the home of the Texas Rangers, Globe Life Field. So a little bit of a neutral site of sorts. Yes, Bud.
I need a ruling. Is an over in this game a sicko mode?
No, it's just the dumbest play on earth.
It's not sick. It's not.
Okay.
It's not
You did this last year. What happened? You did it last year.
Oh, you do? Are you going to do it?
I'm going to fight him. Let's go. Over 40. There's some chance we could push win. Yeah, I have adjusted down my numbers quite a bit in the service academies. This one actually opened 38 and got bet up almost immediately, which normally it doesn't happen. So I wonder if the books aren't catching on to this a little bit more and are opening these super low. And we have seen them hang totals this year. Like they opened at 31.5, Iowa Northwestern, right? So I think this game will be played in the 40s. So I'm going to take the over 40 here.
Well, I'm gaining 2 units on Bud this week.
Oh man.
Not
There you go. Yeah, Bud's a communist. Let him know.
Yep.
Let him know, chat. He
Just
thinks.
trying to share some of my wins.
I just want to be clear. This week, Bud thinks the Michigan player had it coming, and he's taking the Service Academy over.
Oh,
all
man.
right. Danny,
I got one.
how many more do you have?
I got a bunch, but I'll probably leave them in the chat just so you can just fill out the sheet when I'm gone. All right. Michigan State, Illinois. Everyone thinks, Michigan State, 8 players out. Illinois is just going to roll. I'm not going to do it, Tom, but I am going to do this. The number's big. Like, do you trust Illinois to cover 17 in this spot? I don't, but what I do trust is they will be able to put up a ton of points. Give me the over in this game. I also think Michigan State, if they do get down, which they will, I think they could be slinging around either getting big plays or potentially that Illinois defense creating some points of their own. I think if it is blowout city, I think it goes way over. So give me the over. What's the best number I can get right here? I see 41.5. I get that?
There was some 41 earlier when I bet it.
There's still 41.
Give me over 41. How are we feeling, Tom? Do you like that?
No, I think the total's a little too low as well.
Okay.
I think Illinois is going to score like 55 points by itself on their way to the college football playoff.
On Wednesday, I dropped the Michigan State team total under 13.5. But garbage time has me backing off of that one for here. But well, I don't want to get like when Illinois got this thing put away, I don't want to get broken on Mel Tucker trying to prove something. So I'll leave that one on the bench for right now. I don't hate anything about that. I do think Illinois' defense is going to control this game through and through. All right, Danny, why don't you keep it rolling?
Liberty traveling to Arkansas. By the way, I just watched the Hulu documentary in the flight last night up here to New York. Whoa, that is a wild ride. Check it out. I think Arkansas here playing home stretch of their season.
Oh, the Pool Boy documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Pool Boy documentary. It's wild. It is a wild ride. And that kid talks. He dishes all of it, all the details. I think Arkansas here, Liberty's comes in with a lot of momentum. Hugh Freeze just gets his nice extension. We saw last year what happened. Liberty walked into the SEC. I think this number is going to be, I think Arkansas could call their number on them playing at home. Arkansas, a little bit more to play for as far as when you come down to bowl eligibility, adding wins onto their total. I'll lay the 13.5. I think they win big. I think there's a little bit, I'm curious BYU, how they rebound. That was another team I was watching this week, but I think that was a little bit of a misleading win across the country. Now Liberty has to follow that up, go into Arkansas. So I'm going to lay the points in that one, as well as I am going to take the under 64 because I think they shut down Liberty's offense.
See, my concern there, and I'm with you on laying the points with Arkansas. My concern is just that Hugh Freeze puts out like an audition tape for the Auburn job.
Can I ask you guys something real quick? What's the deal with his extension? Is that like just a paper for show, or can he get out of that? Because
nobody thinks it's real.
Or to get Liberty some money on the way
Nobody
out.
I've read about.
Yeah, we talked. It was that sometimes those extensions are just to help out the school that you're about to leave.
Right. I do remember Lane Kiffin signed a 10-year deal at FAU like a year before he walked out the door.
Yeah, he got a new weight room because he knew he was about to get hired away by Ole Miss. So that's how I interpret it.
It also secures his floor, right? Like if Auburn won't hire him. I mean, remember Auburn's new AD is literally the guy who was the AD when Mullen was like having his players narc on Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss. And like as Godfrey said this week, like Mississippi State literally tried to send their people to Ole Miss's compliance hearing when Cohen was the AD there. So I don't know if he would hire Hugh Freeze.
Hey, listen, forgiveness. That's what it's all about, baby. We can grow. We can grow. Speaking of forgiveness, get right spot for the Purdue Boilermakers. They are favored by just 4.5 points against Iowa. Charlie Jones revenge game, as if he hasn't already been flaunting what he can do in the throes of an offense that engages with the forward pass. he gets to go up against this Iowa team that he knows very well. The game is at home for Purdue, and I am not going to be fooled by what Iowa was able to do against Northwestern's defense to think that the Hawkeyes have turned some kind of corner. The loss to Wisconsin prior to the off week was very embarrassing for a group that had gotten a little bit of steam going with back-to-back wins against Minnesota and Maryland and Nebraska. So I think as they come back, they start a little sharp and they get a win against the Hawkeyes. And in doing so, they cover this number. Give me Purdue -4.5.
3.5 is the best I could do.
Oh boy. Chip line value loves to see it moving in the other direction.
That's in your favor. So.
Oh yeah. That's right.
I was being a dick. I don't know. I don't know, Chip. I don't know. That's all I'll say.
Chat saying we got a lot of weather.
Ton of weather. Purdue's secondary is very banged up. Not really sure that matters against Iowa.
That doesn't matter in this matchup.
But the weather really could help Iowa because obviously
you can't move the ball through the air.
If you don't pass the ball, weather, which hurts passing the ball, doesn't really affect you.
I mean, it's a lock. I'm not taking it off the board.
Don't. You shouldn't. You got to believe in yourself. I'm just saying. I'm not nearly as confident as you are.
You say I don't know. That's all I'm saying. It's I don't know. All right. What? Danny, what else you got?
Oak State was atrocious last week. Shut out, completely shut down. Kansas, great story to start the year. I think it's a big bounce back. I think when Oklahoma needed their big win, they got it. Now it's Oklahoma State's turn. I think you see a much more dialed-in team. Can I get this at a pick 'em? Is that the best I can get that?
Sanders not because this line is moving a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think Sanders is going to play here, guys. Like we might be betting on Gunnar Gundy.
Give me him.
So,
Yeah. No. Give me Oklahoma State. This is a get-right game. Let's go.
there we go, Danny. I like that.
Overcorrection.
Presented new information as though that's going to sway me from something I've talked myself into already.
Right?
Come on. We dig in our heels and we go harder. Let's see, Tom, how many do you have left?
I've got a lot left, and I want to get this one in because, like that line, it is moving, but it's not moving in my favor. I don't think you mentioned earlier, Danny, about BYU being, just in a bad spot, maybe possibly getting better. I don't think it is. I'm taking Boise State -8 in this game. I do not think that the market has quite caught on to how much better this Boise State team has been. I look at this matchup. I don't see how BYU is going to stop Taylon Green in the Boise State offense. I see plenty of ways in which Boise State's defense will be able to stop the BYU offense. So give me the Broncos at home on the blue turf, laying now over a touchdown. So Boise State -8.
I mean, I dig it. Not taking BYU for anything right now. So I definitely understand that. Tom, why don't you keep it rolling?
Well, I will go back to the game we were just talking about too, because I forgot that was on my card as well. But I don't know. Let me see if that's moved. How much of that has moved? No, it hasn't moved much at all. But if Spencer Sanders isn't playing, that's probably going to affect the offensive output for Oklahoma State, which is fine for me because I'm taking the under 64.5 in Oklahoma State, Kansas.
I mean, that kind of makes sense if Gundy or if it's Gundy, right?
I mean, I liked it with Sanders. So if Sanders isn't playing, Gundy's going in. Let's get it before that moves. While everybody else is betting the spread, give me the total.
I can't get away from construction. Do you guys hear something in the hotel ahead of me? It's like some bang. It's like a woodpecker. Something's going on.
No, that's
his wife is remodeling the kitchen in the hotel room again.
Maybe so.
Bud, where do you want to go?
Yeah, so we need a sicko mode pick this week. Fired up.
All right. Love to hear it.
It's time for sicko mode. Let's go. I'm a little bit lower on some of the teams in the bottom of the Sun Belt. If things go wrong, they could be like UMass UConn. That's kind of like sicko mode of a sicko mode.
I'm going to go ahead and take something I think is truly sick here. Jake Haener is back for Fresno State. They're playing much better with him. But their defense still allowed San Diego State to put up almost 500 yards, which is concerning. to me, and Hawaii has been a little bit better after its bye. So I'm going to go ahead and take Hawaii and take those 27.5 points. Backdoor probably wide open here. A game at UNLV left for Fresno. So who knows if they're able to run it up. But I just feel like a lot of the focus here is on Haener being back and not enough on the fact that Fresno still is missing a decent number of guys who seem to matter to their defense.
What's the number you're getting?
27.5. I mean, it looks like it's going to go to 28, but whatever. Like, probably not during the show.
Some late night action.
Cincinnati needs to get back to its bread and butter. Pass offense stinks. Ben Bryant ain't getting it done. It's just everything about it is a little bit middling. And after losing for the first time in 17 straight conference wins, it took an L. And I think that that's going to mean Luke Fickell wants to get this done with running the football, playing great defense, playing solid defense, and Navy comes to town. So if Cincinnati is going to be dialing it back, getting back to its bread and butter, and Navy, well, I mean, we know that they're a team that runs the ball literally more times per game than anybody in the entire country. That's 61 on average. Clock, 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 clock. Tick, 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 tick. It's not a Service Academy number, but it might play out like a Service Academy game. Give me Cincinnati and Navy under 46.5.
45.5 is the best I can do.
Ooh, okay.
I think that's a good number, Chip, especially because Navy's quarterback is, I think, out for the year. So
Ty Lavatai?
Yeah.
Sad.
Didn't he get clipped last game? Let me see here. Did you guys see this? Just came in like a couple minutes ago. Free said that Jonathan Bennett has been battling the flu this week, and the status for Saturday's game is in doubt. So Charlie Brewer not quite ready. Obviously, Caden Salter is not playing. So
Arkansas,
fourth stringer, I guess, for.
Hold on, I'll be right back. I got to open my phone for completely unrelated reasons.
And don't forget, you're going to have to open that app twice. To be oh, good jokes.
Inside jokes.
All right. I'm close to tapped out.
I am not.
All right, Tom.
All right. Oh, Jesus. I'm trying to stall here. All right. You know what? I'm going to go with this one. I think that the total is just a little too high. I think, we've waited for the letdown for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it hasn't come, but I feel like there's a different kind of letdown in store for us on this one. I am taking the under 69.5, which I think is the best number still out there for me between Texas Tech and TCU. Yeah, there's still a 69.5 out there. So I just think that's a lot of points. Might come in a little bit below. Just don't trust Texas Tech enough, honestly.
I want to lay the points with TCU, but I can't do it confidently because TCU doesn't have a whole lot of blowouts on this profile. And Texas Tech, as Tom Fornelli is so eloquently put it, is the pain in the butt of the Big 12. You got anything on that one? Number 7 team in the country, undefeated?
Yeah, I just feel like Texas Tech gives up so many explosive plays that I can't back them here. I just feel like they play great defense for a couple plays in a row, and then it's just a total bomb or bust.
Anybody want to dance with Oregon and Colorado? Yuck.
No, I have absolutely no desire to be anywhere near that game.
I got asked for I do a Wednesday night hit on CBS Sports HQ. We go conference by conference, best play in each conference. And I swear, if it wasn't for the river and the sky, I was going to have to say pass. I mean, Washington State and Stanford, one conference win apiece.
I got one in there.
I got one there too.
Yeah. Stanford team total under 23.
Just going to keep doing it. Just
no doubt. Like guys, I mean, yes, Stanford has gone a couple weeks in a row now. Well, not a couple weeks in a row, but several of the past few weeks, Stanford has got to the halftime with less than 125 yards total offense. They are just not competitive on offense now at all. Like they're just missing. They're sort of in a Boston College situation, except they still have their quarterback, but they're missing a lot of guys up front. Their top receiver, Wilson's is out. I think Filkins is still out. Obviously, they already lost Emmitt Smith's kid. I just don't think they're going to score. And I do think Washington State will run the ball quite a bit.
And they hate fun.
Yeah, I'm on Wazoo -4.5 because they suspended the tree.
I like that too.
That's at least a touchdown. I mean, that the vibes alone. Without the tree, what does Stanford even have to play for? So Wazoo -4.5.
I wasted or enjoyed 20 minutes of my Monday reading about the battle between Stanford students and the administration. You want to talk about bad vibes?
Mm-hmm.
The number of on-campus party permits has plummeted. You know, they're taking off the pandemic restrictions, but they're just making it tougher and tougher for students to go and get theirs. And you know what they're doing? They're just doing traveling parties now. They just go climb light poles because they're not allowed to have parties anymore. Shame. As I butt my pretty little nose into Stanford campus politics.
Well, you know, those Stanford parties, they get rowdy. You know, sometimes you get that Mountain Dew in those kids, and they just, those nerds, they get raucous.
Well, it sounded like they used to have, like, there were a couple of parties per year that organizations would put on where it wasn't like, it didn't seem like it was super strict in terms of, you know, being able to enjoy yourself as a student. You know, the whole like, you know, the parents, they're like, well, as long as you're here and you don't drive, then you can do whatever you want in the basement kind of parties. It seemed like Stanford had kind of set that up back in the old world, but it's become pretty tough for Stanford students to see that same kind of experience socially.
I'm just going to say, Stanford, if you're watching, and I know you are, not allowing your kids to party is how Theranos happens. So, you know, think about what you're doing.
That's not the only thing that allows Theranos to happen. Okay.
Elizabeth Holmes was busy getting drunk. It never would have happened. That's all I'm saying.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do we like the doc better, or do we like the dramatized version?
Oh, I hated the dramatized version.
Doc.
Yeah.
I watched them both.
I got through like an episode and a half of the show, and I was just like, this is just.
Because the imitation of the voice was even worse than the voice itself.
No, you know what it is, and this is going to be a total side rant. We just now, with like all the content and streaming services, now we're doing like these look like that kind of show about something that literally just happened. Like, I don't need to see the show of what I just followed in the news story 7 months ago. Plus, when there's no time between the actual event and the television show, there's really no new insights. There's nothing you've learned that's happened since then. I feel like you got to wait a little longer, but we're in such a race to produce content about every single freaking thing out there now that it's like the show was terrible.
We have 2 actual documentaries on Firefest. I would take a dramatized version of it. Dennis picked.
Yeah, I totally forgot. That's on me. I need to start sending these to Jordan beforehand. All right. By the way, last week he also he had Arkansas -3.5. I just totally forgot to read that. That's probably on me. But congrats to him for getting a little extra Christmas gift money. Welcome to the boat where dreams come to die for South Carolina. SC was given a couple of SEC wins over UK and A&M, and then back to reality against Missouri last weekend, losing at home by 13 in a game that was never that close. Don't I know it? Vanderbilt played Missouri much tougher at Mizzou. They lost by 3, but could have won that game if they make a few field goals. Last year, Vandy nearly beat South Carolina on the road, losing 21-20, and should have won that game. Vandy is desperate for an SEC win and a little revenge from last year. And now they get SC at home off a bye. Give me the Fighting Bartons +7 LFG tooth lock. 1, 2, 3, 4. A syringe for each point he's getting here at +7. Also, loves the first half under in this one, probably under 48.5 for the game as well, but not as confident in the first half. And moneyline sprinkle it for me. So he is all in on the doors here.
Sounds like Barton was in for a teeth cleaning this week.
I was about to say, Barton had more dental work, and it sounds like the dentist now has more money to play with.
Is this the one thing I will say about this is that teams do like to go to bowl games, and this is the last game in which South Carolina will be favored, right? They go to Florida next week, and then they host Tennessee, and they're at Clemson. So they're almost certainly going to finish 0-2 unless you think they're going to clip one of those. At Florida is potentially winnable, but you will be an underdog at the Gators. unless Richardson gets hurt or something like that. This is a game that South Carolina has to have. And that is the reason why I'm staying off Vandy here. It's like they know they need this one. Teams, even though we may think bowl games aren't that big of a deal, internally teams still care about it. And coaches definitely care about it because their bonuses are tied to it.
Speaking of the Gators, nary a mention for the battle of teams that are 1-4 in SEC play going up against each other on a real national television channel in the noon slate. Florida at 4-4, Texas A&M at 3-5, Aggies favored by 3.5, over under of 55.5, which tells me that no one even put any effort into this. 3.5 points for the home field and right around 56. That's a college number right there. Okay, so any thoughts there as we flex our SEC bias? Pass.
Both teams should be able to run the football very well on one another, which suggests under. Both teams are pretty bad red zone defenses, which suggests over.
Is this the week A&M finally scores 30 points?
I think so.
Florida's the defense.
That's what I'm saying.
Anybody got to play on Baylor-Oklahoma? I'm just trying to, there are like a lot of games with some of these, teams we've been talking about all season. And, if we don't have locks on them, we're not going to give them out, but at least want to try to give them a mention for the fans who might be interested.
It's a one TV weekend though. Like you can get by this weekend with one TV.
Not the night slate.
Why?
Night slate has multiple games that I think are going to get your attention. Especially because they're starting at 7.
Matchup?
What?
You got a top 10 matchup, first of all.
That's the one you got to watch.
You got Clemson-Notre Dame.
Texas-Kansas State's going on at the same time, and Clemson-Notre Dame.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that all starts maybe before Tennessee and Georgia's done.
I don't feel like those are must watch though. Those are like you can watch. They'd probably be good. Like I don't think they're must watch. I think you can go one TV this week.
Texas, Kansas State's like for a big if Texas has to win to stay alive in the Big 12, and if Kansas State wins, they are very much in the running for a Big 12 championship appearance.
So this man's going to ignore the action at Snapdragon Stadium when our beloved San Diego State Aztecs getting mushed, but still covering the spread, as host UNLV, or Houston and SMU in the NFL Network primetime game.
Mm-hmm. I might have more on that game coming up.
I will say it's a slow to warm day, but I think that at nighttime it's going to be. I think that there's a lot going on that you want to keep your eyes on. North Carolina, Virginia, absolute stay away from me.
Over. Lock it up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, Chip. So, it dropped to 7. Are you worried about this being a letdown for Carolina just because they've basically locked up the division even if they lose?
I'm worried about it being a letdown for North Carolina because of North Carolina's pattern of letdown performances, specifically on the road, including performances in Charlottesville on the road. I think that Virginia's defense is not bad. Like a Virginia fan, forgive me for not being able to cite this, but I think a Virginia fan on Reddit made a funny post about having a fever dream that the 2021 Virginia offense and the 2022 Virginia defense were together at the same time, and they were playing for an ACC championship, and then a fever nightmare that the 2022 offense and the 2022 defense were playing together, and that team got relegated to the FCS. That the fact that this team actually has, I do believe that is not just that they are inept offensively. I do think they have improved a lot defensively. And if North Carolina has any bit of letdown, if the fact that North Carolina's defense allows Virginia to have some success, it is a scary spot. You are locking up the over, Tom?
Hell yeah, I'm locking up the over. North Carolina is going to put up 40, and Virginia is going to have its best offensive performance of the season because it's facing North Carolina. But by the way, Chip, you mentioned, North Carolina losing in Charlottesville. Can you imagine being a premier ACC program, going on the road in a game like that and losing on the road to Virginia and possibly ruining your title hopes, whether it's ACC or national? That could never happen.
Wait, who did that happen to?
Danny Cannell.
Oh, man. Not even here.
He's not even here, but I'm getting him back for last week. Still just catching strays when you're not here, Danny.
Boom.
speaking of Danny, he had to jump to the radio show. Took Cal plus 21 at USC and Arizona State. He put 17.5. That's got to be a typo because that's about a touchdown off of where the line is. I guess he means.
I just copied and put it in.
Okay, that he's got to mean. There's a couple 11.5, so I assume that's what he means.
Yeah.
Right. Or does he mean Arizona? Because Arizona is 17.5.
We will text him and ask him.
Yeah. All right.
All right, any other plays on the board?
I have, let me see. I got one left, I think. Yes, I do. Give me Syracuse plus 4 against Pitt in the war of just not betting on the coach who doesn't want his team to score points. Okay, cool. So give me 4 of them.
All right, I'm all tapped out.
Tapped.
Let's turn our attention to the big old cash register. As last week we saw Tom, the San Diego State. We've discussed that too many times. I lost ODU and Cal. We had Danny got UConn plus 275, lost Auburn, Virginia, and Nebraska. Bud cashed ECU, cashed Coastal, took an L on Old Dominion. If you look at the entire totals for the season, Danny is up 11.37 units, 14 and 17 on these money line sprinkles. His picks are Kansas State against Texas, Vandy against South Carolina, and Missouri against Kentucky. Second place is Bud. Where are you going to go for your sprinkles?
Yeah, so I definitely did these in advance. I just need to pull the spreadsheet. Okay, here we go. So the first one I'm going to take here is Georgia Tech. I was surprised at how well NC State was able to throw on Va Tech, but then I looked and the Hokies are playing like a freshman corner, and Jeff Sims is getting healthier. I didn't hate what I saw from Georgia Tech's freshman Poyer last week. The quarterback, they benched Zach Gibson, who was pretty poor. It wouldn't shock me if Georgia Tech can go on the road and get this win. So Georgia Tech plus 1. Damn, I was moved a little bit. Anyway, I'll still take plus 140.
Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech also on the list of gross games here in week 10, but you can still make money on gross games. That's
yes,
why
you can.
There's sicko mode. Is that a sicko mode? Yeah, kind of.
It's kind of a it's a conference sicko mode. I don't know. Like,
this is your last chance to be able to really get nasty ACC Coastal Division grossness in there. Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech, a game that for 7 years decided who was going to play for the ACC championship.
No. The Commonwealth Cup. Isn't that Virginia Tech?
That's the sickest of the sicko.
I think that's the sickest of the sicko.
Yeah.
Within the league.
It's just every week in the ACC is a sicko league.
That's right. It is Tom's favorite league. Tom, what are your money?
Oh, I have one more.
Oh, yeah.
Houston. I'm not buying that SMU is that good. I just think Tulsa is that bad. And so I think Houston has secretly been pretty good on offense recently. Houston plus 140 as well. Those are my two for this week.
All right, Tom.
Houston plus 140. That is my upset pick of the week in the 6-pack, and I'm including it here. And then I am also with Danny. I am taking Vandy plus 230. And then hold on one second here. My other two are sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. Chip mentioned it earlier. I don't know about that. Iowa plus 170.
Ooh.
I'm also on Georgia Tech plus 140. And I'm on West Virginia plus 235.
Wow. Just one.
Do that.
Give me Vandy. Anchor down.
Let's go.
Let's go. First SEC win. Let's go get it this weekend. Now's the time. Vandy. That'll be my sole sprinkle for the weekend. All right, let's review our locks. Tom has the Oregon State-Washington under 54.5, Tennessee plus 8, the Texas-Kansas State over 54.5, the Wake-NC State over 54, the Air Force Army under 40.5, Boise State -8, Oklahoma State, Kansas under 64.5, Texas Tech, TCU under 69.5, Washington State -4.5, North Carolina, Virginia over 59.5, Syracuse +4. I'm on Oregon State, Washington under 54.5, Tennessee +8, Texas, Kansas State over 54.5, Clemson, Notre Dame under 44.5, Purdue -3.5, Navy, Cincinnati under 45.5. Danny spraying the board. Tennessee, Georgia under 66.5, Georgia -8, Kansas State +2.5, Clemson, Notre Dame under 44.5, Florida State -7.5, Vanderbilt +7, Michigan State, Illinois over 41, Arkansas -13.5, Liberty, Arkansas under 64.5, Oklahoma State pick'em, Arizona or Arizona State ? TBD. We got to figure out which side he wants. Cal +21, and Bud's got App State -3, Duke -9.5, Bama LSU first half under 29, Kansas State over 26.5, Air Force Army over 40, Tulsa team total under 24.5, Clemson -3.5, Hawaii +27.5, Stanford team total under 23. The two lock fights. Service Academies, Tom, you know where he is. Bud taking the un-American side. We got a bar fight between Tom and Chip going up against Danny. We've got lock agreements on the river in the sky, under 54.5 in Oregon State, Washington. The over 54.5 in Texas, Kansas State. Wildcats found the forward pass. And Clemson, Notre Dame under 44.5. That is a Chip Danny agreement. Woo!
Chip, are you like just sitting on the ball?
No, I wasn't didn't love a lot.
Just saying, it's like you got your little 6.8 units. You're up in the locks. You've got 6 locks this week. You've only got 1 sprinkle. I just feel like you're auditioning to be Notre Dame's offensive coordinator next season. What's going on here?
I said at the very beginning, there's a lot of games. I didn't. When you know what? When you are making picks just on vibes, if there's a lot of gross games, you're not going to be attracted to a lot. You're not going to feel like you got a good feel. You don't want to try to figure out whether this interim Colorado team is going to be able to bring, like, I would be a fool to jump in front of like Oregon again and get out here trotting about Road Bo Nix, right? Like if I was talking about Cal and Cal's defense, for me to do that about Colorado would be disingenuous. And you know what? I want to be, if nothing else, genuine.
Danny texted. He wants Arizona +17.5.
Cool.
Arizona +17.5.
I don't hate that.
There it is. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.